years 9 and 10, Miss Orford here. I hope you're all doing okay. It's a very strange time. If you wanted to keep yourself busy and can do some revision lessons with me on cell division, this is what we're going to be doing, and which focuses particularly on what makes. But it might be a good idea for you to grab some paper and pen just so you can make some notes, as there's a few quizzes as we go. That might be helpful for you to make those notes as we do. So like I said, this lesson is called What Makes Us Us, and the words that you might want to try and unscramble there. Pause the video some time. I wonder how many you've got. So lots of those keywords you've probably met before, but if you're not sure what they are, feel free to look up what they mean and maybe some context on the internet, or maybe you're feeling pretty confident already and you don't feel the need. So let's get started. So these are some of what we're going to be talking about today in our lesson. So I want you to have a pause of the video, think about what they are, why do you think they're important, where are they found? So some of you maybe already know these are chromosomes. So these can be shown like this, as single strands that are all kind of coiled together in a bit of a mess, like and looks a bit like spaghetti, I suppose, in that picture there at the bottom left. And so see them shown, that's a single chromosome there, shown as rather than just as a long strand like this one here. And ones that some of you might know are the sex chromosomes, ones that decide whether you're a boy or a girl. They are your 23rd pair, and this particular person, if they've got an X and a Y, will be a boy, which is actually what my baby is going to be. So baby boy on the way to Orford. So I thought it might be quite good in gear, and so here's a very quick quiz to read some things that you should have learnt before, or maybe just things that you scratch it. So feel free obviously to pause the video whenever you feel like thinking time, or and also to give you time to write if you want to. So the first question, number 1, in a body's cells are chromosomes found? Are they number 1, number 2 the cell membrane, or number 3 the cell membrane? Answer is the nucleus. So this is kind of in the diagrams you probably see most of the time. It's the sort of darker dot of cells, and that's where all your chromosomes are found inside your cells. The cell wall is a protective layer on plant cells only, and the cell membrane allows in and out of the cells, so it's nothing to do with chromosomes at all. Question number 2. What is genetic information carried by? 1 lipids, 2 DNA, or 3 complex sugars? The answer is number 2, DNA. Do you know what DNA stands for? It's a very, very classic pub quiz. It stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and I'll show you that a little bit. So if you want to make a mental note of that when you're a bit older and doing pub, that might be good. So lipids are fats, and sugars are things like carbohydrates and things like that. So not going to be genetic information. Question number 3, humans. What are the male gametes called? So you have to think what a gamete is for a start, and then work out which the male one is. So is it 1 test, 2 scrotum, or 3 sperm? The answer is sperm, number 3. So the tests are the area in the male where the sperm are formed, and the scrotum is the kind of sac that contains those testes. So the sperm are the sex cells, which is a gal. So question number 4, what is a male gamete called? Now you might find this one easier now you know what the male gamete is. So is it number 1, the egg cell, number 2, the ovary, or number 3, the uterus? Here's number 1, the cell. So the ovary is the area of the female reproductive system where the egg cells are formed, and one of those is released once a month from the ovary during the menstrual cycle. And the uterus is the part of the female reproduction where the egg, if it is successfully first grows the baby. So the only is the sex cell, the egg cell. So number 5. Sorry. In the course of reproduction, when does fertilisation happen? So is it number 1, when a female gamete join? Number 2, when a farmer puts manure on land? Or number 3, when plants drop seeds onto the ground? Number 1, so when the male and female gamete physically join. So in humans, it's when an egg and sperm cell physically fuse together and bring their 2 nucleuses of chromosomes together and creates a whole new cell, that fertilisation moment. Number 2, when a farmer puts on land, obviously people put fertiliser for this, or fertilising anything. It's just a way of kind of encouraging growth by providing nutrients. And when the plants drop their seeds onto the ground, the seeds is actually a kind of already fertilised egg cell from the plant. So the pollen has actually already fertilised the egg cell, created the seed, and that's actually seed dispersal rather than fertilisation. So it's kind of a stage. So let's have a little look at what we're going to be revising today. So kind of giving you a bit of view. So if we go from a cell to DNA, we kind of dig and then zoom into the sort of nitty gritty. We've got the new human body cell. So this here, oh, where's my mouse gone? There it is. If we imagine this is a regular human body cell, so something like that, then I've chopped it in so we can see on the inside. And like I said earlier, this kind of darker dot on the ends is kind of what people always picture as the nucleus. So if we zoom in, then inside we've got all these chromosomes, like we looked at the picture earlier. These ones, though, shown as X's, which is absolutely fine. And as humans, we've got 46 chromosomes. And if we were to look really carefully at this, we would be able to see that there's 23 pairs. So there's 2-eyed pairs. And I want you to have a little think about why we've got pairs of chromosomes and how we reproduce as an animal. And then if we zoom in even closer, each one of the chromosomes, if you can see, has got little different shaded colours on it. And so it's made up of all these coils of DNA, which is kind of like a code, really. And that code made up by something which we're going to look at a little bit in a future revision lesson about this double helix shaped bases, which you might remember about from this topic before. So the DNA actually gives you all the information about any characteristics that are given to you by your and that's the only way you can get them. There are obviously different characteristics based on your environmental impact, so decisions you make, such as whether you hair or something. But these inherited characteristics are all given based on DNA. So I want to have a little look at anything else about this. You can have a look on that YouTube video there that I got to. So chromosomes, if we look a little detail at these, so they're long strands. They are actually really skinny, and you can't really see them when you first look at the microscope. And they just kind of look like a bowl of spaghetti, but very tiny. So when a cell is just about to do division, they start to kind of condense. They sort of shrink together a little bit more, clump together a bit more, and they become a little bit more visible using a microscope. And they, just before they do that cell division, they look a little bit more like this. You do need a microscope to see that. But you could see chromosomes represented as just one strand like that, or as an X like that. So be ready to see it as both things, but it's always just known as chromosomes. So, there we go. And what is DNA? So DNA, like I said, it stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. So you need to have a look at what that means in terms of what it's made up of. Deoxy means there's in there. Ribonucleic means there's some riboflavin. There's lots of stuff going on. We're going to be looking at these nucleic bases in the future. We've got chromosomes here are tightly coiled. They have really kind of characteristic structure, which is really classic exam question. What is the shape of a DNA structure? It's a double helix, which means it's got two strands with these sort of ladder things in between them. It coils up into this kind of spiral, and then like condenses down, and you can't really see it unless you really sort of serious testing on it. So all these DNA molecules are made up of smaller sections, and all the sections are like a code that control what your cells are made up. They do. So, for example, if your cell needs to make a hormone or actually destroy the cell, maybe it's come to the end of its cell cycle, something like that, then your DNA is actually what's tells your cell what to do. So these genes are a section of DNA, and it's normally for making a protein, which can then go on as a messenger, as a hormone or an enzyme or something. So these genes will actually determine your appearance and some characteristics. So some of your characteristics are a mixture of what you eat and some things that you actually change based just behaviour. So things like your intelligence is partly inherited and partly on obviously you practicing and actually paying attention in school. So if we look at the whole sort of sequence, your body's made up of, each cell has got a nucleus which contains lots of chromosomes, and the chromosomes are made up of DNA. And DNA, you've got all these genes that code making you. So you can probably answer now, what is us? So I want a quick go at labelling the diagram. So you can just list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've given you some names across the top there. So you can pause the video, quick go at that, and then we'll check how you're getting on. So here's your answers. Hope you got all 5 correct there. Some people do 4 and 5 a little bit, because sometimes they think number 4 is pointing at a smaller section of the name and number 5 is pointing at the whole section. I can understand that sort of misunderstanding, so I will forgive you if you got 4 and 5 muddled up. So like I said earlier, we've got 4 chromosomes in each human body cell, so that's every single body bar 2. The main one that have 46 chromosomes or 23 matching pairs is actually red blood cells, because you should know this from doing revision of just basic cell structure and specialized cells, but cells don't have a nucleus at all, so therefore they don't have any chromosomes. And this is to make sure that they've got enough space to be able to carry the around your body. So the other cell that have 46 chromosomes in your body is we're going to look at a little bit later. So 46 chromosomes, as you can see here, human. Yes, you are in a wild human. And the complexity of an organism, kind of strange, or how different, or kind of, what's that? I'm trying to think of the word here, but not very simple, such as like a bacteria. You would not necessarily have lots of chromosomes just because you're a really complex organism. If you look at the list, a fruit fly, tiny. I don't know if you've ever experienced them, if you've left a piece of fruit out on the side. They've only got 8 chromosomes. But a kangaroo, much bigger than, just as complex really, and they've only got 12 chromosomes in each of their body cells. But then if you think about a chicken, 78. And then a fern, which is a plant animal, they've got 1,200 chromosomes in every single one of their cells. So I want you to have a think about, what have you noticed about those numbers? Maybe you've noticed they're all even numbers. That's quite important, because all of those things actually reproduce sexually usually, but if not asexually, it's just as important. But it's all about this. The sex cells, or the chromosomes in the gametes, they need to be able to then become pairs again, so everyone paired. So when they make these sex cells, they halve the number of chromosomes. So an egg cell here on the left, that's got 20 paired chromosomes, and the male sex cell, the sperm here, has got 23 unpaired chromosomes. So when they together, they make back up the full 46 6 chromosomes, and you can see where the pairing comes up because the first from the egg and the first chromosome from the sperm, they will match each other, join together to make the first pair. So important for fertilisation and reproduction, because obviously if one of those cells have half the number and it's got a different number, they're not going to make back up number for that particular species, and obviously that would not be a future generation being produced. So feel free to pause the video, having time, but what's the correct order of size? So we're going from the smallest to large. So is it A, a gene builds up to DNA, which builds cell, which builds into a nucleus and builds into a chromosome? Or is it B, DNA builds into a gene, which builds into a nucleus, which builds into a chromosome, which is a cell? C, a gene builds into DNA, which builds into a chromosome, which builds into a nucleus, which builds into... Or is it D, cell, DNA, which builds into a gene, which builds into chromosome, which builds into a nucleus? Feel free to pause the video if you need something. But the correct answer is C. Now, if you're comfortable with that, if you didn't get it right, you might want to revisit this video's lesson quickly, or if you look back on Show My Homework, I've popped a BBC link on there, which you might want to have a quick look through before your quiz, which is on Show My Homework. So don't forget to do the 10-question quiz and show off what you've learned or what you can remember. And don't forget your quiz will be emailed out to parents, and I've put the date on Show My Homework at which when that will happen. But there is also an extended deadline for, so you don't have to do it by then. But it would be nice for your parents to see that you're writing with your time. I hope to see you soon. I hope you're keeping well. Let's stay safe here, 9 and 10.